India brings to the relationship is something that is valued in the Gulf. And that is, we are major buyers of their energy, and we are likely to be major buyers, possibly the number one buyer over the coming 2 or 3 decades. That is crucial. Number two, we are very major trade partners. Number three, they see India as a very major, a very attractive territory for their investments. We are now looking at technology as bringing us together, and we are also looking at logistical connectivity projects. Each of these, Pakistan doesn't fit in any of these, and that is the crucial point. Pakistan remains a partner in the broad security and defense area. India flourishes. And now we have built up strategic partnership. Our partnership with Saudi Arabia is monitored at the Crown Prince and Prime Minister level at the Strategic Dialogue Platform. And you have a separate NSA platform. You have a separate External Affairs Minister platform. All of them discussing how to take our relationship forward. Pakistan has none of this.
Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and today I have with me the distinguished diplomat, Ambassador Talmiz Ahmed, who has been India's ambassador to Saudi Arabia, to the United Arab Emirates. He's also been the ambassador to Oman. He is also a prolific scholar and a writer. He has written 4 books, frequently comments on international affairs in global media. I have with me one of his books here, which I use in my undergraduate classes. It's called West Asia at War. I think this is your last book so far.
Yes.
So I recommend it to those of you who want to look at the Middle East from the East. I think that's one good way of describing
from the non-Western perspective.
From a non-Western perspective. It is quite illuminating. A couple of my students actually borrowed it and they found it very interesting. They said, "Oh my God, the world looks so different from the other side." I said, "Yes, it's
absolutely correct."
Yeah, so thank you very much for writing that book. So today I'm going to talk to Ambassador Talmiz Ahmed about the role of the Middle East in the recently concluded India-Pakistan, shall we say, fifth episode of military conflict, Operation Sindoor. But I want to basically try and understand how the Middle East has approached this. So Ambassador Saab, first, welcome to Khanversations.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Yeah, and so, sir, how do you broadly see the role of the Middle East? Lately, the Middle Eastern countries have either started playing the role of peacemakers or are at least providing venues for various peacemaking discussions. For example, discussions between Russia and the U.S. Some of the negotiations happen in the Middle East, like Turkey, for example, is hosting the Russia-Ukraine talks. And then the Saudis have also held negotiations on behalf of the Trump administration. So what role did the Middle Eastern, especially the Gulf countries, play during the recent Operation Sindoor that India was conducting against Pakistan?
The Gulf countries, particularly Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar, have become active role players in world affairs as well as regional affairs. They have provided platforms for dialogue. You are aware that Oman is the platform for interaction between the US and Iran on the nuclear question. Saudi Arabia has provided its platform for dialogue also between Russia and the others. And they also like to offer their services to mediate. Now, where the scenario is concerned, all of them condemned the terrorist act that took place at Pahalgam. There was no question about that. But there was a deep-seated concern that this would lead to further escalation and even all-round conflict between these two neighbors. The last thing the Gulf countries want is another conflict in their neighborhood. You already have the ongoing Gaza conflict, and there is a constant threat that either Israel or the Israelis with the United States might attack Iran. And now you have a third conflict between Pakistan and Pakistan and India. So their entire interest is a stable neighborhood, so that their priority, which is economic development, diversification, development of their territory as a regional technological hub, these are their considered priorities. None of this helps if you have conflict, then there is a problem. For example, with regard to the issue relating to Iran, they are supposed to have advised Iran to be as accommodative as possible so that it doesn't give the United States or Israel the excuse for further extending conflict. As far as Israel and South United States are concerned, as you know from their background, that they are prone to conflict. The United States resorts to armed violence even when diplomacy might have been helpful. Israel too has been pursuing that same approach. So there is a deep-seated concern. Now, both the countries of the Gulf have close traditional ties with Pakistan and with India. India, of course, is a very major partner for them today. It is an economic partner, political partner, security partner. Pakistan, obviously, their ties go with, their ties with Pakistan go back about 70, 75 years to the early days of the Cold War when they were partners on the same side and had developed very substantial security relations. That relationship continued. So the kind of relations that the Gulf countries have with India and Pakistan are fundamentally different. As far as India is concerned, it is a political, economic, and security partner. As far as Pakistan is concerned, it is a defense and security partner and a partner that could provide its own armed forces if there was a real threat to the region from an external force. So, yes, they were very deeply worried about this. And of course, they immediately offered their advice to both countries. Please do not escalate, use restraint, enter into dialogue. And they also offered their own services to facilitate interaction between the two countries.
So, for the East Asian countries, they have this dilemma where they want to trade with China, but they want security guarantees from the US. So this is how they try to kind of balance the role of the two superpowers. It appears that the Middle Eastern countries also have a similar challenge where they want to trade with India and have investments in India, but they also want to have some kind of security guarantees with Pakistan. There were no condemnations of Pakistan at all. See, in this entire thing, everybody condemned terrorist attacks in Pahalgam, and most of the attack condemnations were generic. That we stand with India, we condemn terrorism in all its forms, etc. But there was no direct connection by any of the Gulf countries. So when the ministers, the foreign ministers of Iran and Saudi Arabia, they went like in the opposite direction. The Saudis came to India first, and the Iranians went to Islamabad first. I mean, is there some messaging involved even in that choice, or it was just the scheduling that worked out? But I do want to know as to how do the Middle Eastern countries now see Pakistan while they see India as a promising partner financially? How do they see Pakistan with all its attendant domestic problems and economic challenges?
Pakistan remains an important relationship for all the countries of the Gulf. There have been significant changes. Even their ties with the United States have changed, and many of them speak of strategic autonomy. Some of the countries have normalized ties with Israel, Bahrain, and the UAE. The relationship with Pakistan remains substantial for all the countries of the Gulf. In the case of Saudi Arabia, there is an obvious defense connection. For several years, from 1968 to 88, at least 20 to 25,000 Pakistani troops were actually located in Saudi Arabia, and they were placed at the border in order to safeguard the security of the country at a time when the Saudi armed forces had not been fully developed. Again, in the context of the conflict in Yemen in the first decade of this century, initially a battalion and later a brigade of Pakistani troops has been deployed at the Yemen border, though not exactly at the border, slightly behind. Though they are theoretically supposed to be providing training, they are meant to protect the kingdom in case there is a Houthi assault across the border. It hasn't happened yet, but to the best of my knowledge, the Pakistani troops are still there. Traditionally, Pakistan has provided training and maintenance as far as the Air Force is concerned. It is American supplies. In the Cold War, it was the same equipment that went to Pakistan. And of course, that is the relationship that has been going on. The other countries are also wary about Pakistan. Now, is the relationship overwhelmingly sentimental? It is very difficult to say. In the 1990s, you will recall that only three countries had recognized the emirate of Afghanistan, then dominated by the Taliban, and that was Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Pakistan. Even earlier, before that, when you had the global jihad, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and the United States were involved in putting together the global jihad and the Mujahideen struggle. So it is not as if Pakistan has merely been a provider of security for these countries, it has also participated in their initiatives as far as regional military and security issues are concerned. That means when they needed a significant partner, Pakistan was there. Recall here that when the global jihad was in operation, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and the United States provided the equipment, but the entire management and control of the jihad was in the hands of Pakistan. Neither the CIA nor the Saudi intelligence had any direct contact with the Mujahideen at that time. And therefore, Pakistan in this way made itself indispensable as far as these partners are concerned. Even during the period of the American attack and then occupation in Afghanistan, Pakistan had become a crucial partner in this regard. And now there is a lot more literature available that Pakistan facilitated the contact of the various Gulf countries with the Taliban at that time. Many years ago, we didn't have that information, but now we know that Saudi Arabia and Qatar were actively involved with certain factions of the Taliban, the relationship being entirely facilitated by the Pakistanis. So it is a very extraordinary relationship that has been constantly reaffirmed on the battleground, you could say, and it has been working for each other. Now, even as the Pakistanis lost credibility with the United States, the Gulf has retained its close links with them as far as defense is concerned. The only spat that the Saudis had was that the Pakistanis did not supply their forces when the Saudis initiated the war on Yemen. The Pakistanis could not do that, and there was no understanding of this position, at least in the public domain, from Saudi Arabia. As far as the Pakistani position is concerned, it will look after the kingdom's security if the kingdom is attacked. The Yemen war did not fit this definition. The Yemen war was very obviously viewed as a sectarian war initiated by Riyadh. And of course, with the Shia population that Pakistan has at home, possibly about 20% or more, there is no way Pakistan could have participated in that conflict. Saudi Arabia took it very badly. And indeed, some of the assistance that it had provided Pakistan, it demanded that it come back. It took 2 years for the relationship to be refurbished. The countries of the Gulf also have an interest in Pakistan's economic welfare and development. As you know, Saudi Arabia for several years has been providing oil credits to Pakistan. That means it supplies oil to Pakistan free of charge. Then again, you have major investments by Gulf countries into the economy of Pakistan. There is a desire that Pakistan do well. Finally, I will make the point that there is a substantial relationship between the armed forces. Pakistani armed forces, generals, and others have had very close ties with the armed forces of the Gulf countries, just as they have had with the Pentagon in the United States. And this has been a regular contact. You will remember that when Saudi Arabia was putting together its so called Arab NATO, a
Yeah.
force of Islamic countries directed possibly at Iran or any other country, they insisted on obtaining the services of a retired Pakistani general who is, I presume, still located in Riyadh. He is a general without an army, but he is there. It was important for them to obtain some cosmetic presence of a non-Arab Muslim country, and obviously Pakistan fills that definition as well. So I would say to you that there is extraordinary goodwill for Pakistan, extraordinary support for Pakistan. Pakistan is the go-to country when they need security bolstered or they need any defense upgraded. And Pakistan has been with them continuously, not on bilateral basis alone, but in terms of the major projects that they have initiated at various times in the region.
You know, the, uh, is it possible to say that because of this security, I mean, the confidence that Pakistan has that it is critical for the Gulf security, does Pakistan take them for granted? For example, after Operation Sindoor, the Indian government has launched this charm offensive, sending a bunch of diplomats to 7 different regions in the world, and they have sent one to the Gulf too, including Asaduddin Owaisi, who in the Middle East has been bashing Pakistan on terrorism and his support for terrorism, to the point that he's a very good friend of mine, by the way. He's also from my hometown, Hyderabad, but he equated Pakistan's ideology to that of ISIS. So, but Pakistan has not felt the need to send a delegation there. I mean, they are sending Bilawal Bhutto, who apparently is going only to 4 capitals: Washington, D.C., Paris, London, and Brussels. So, are they taking the Middle East for granted, given that India has been working so hard towards outreach? I mean, the number of times Prime Minister Modi has traveled. He was in Saudi Arabia when Pahalgam happened, repeatedly trying to build. A lot of Indians now live in Dubai. Even those who don't work in Dubai have relocated to Dubai. So there's growing commercial relations and cultural relations between India and the Gulf. Is Pakistan taking them for granted, or is that relationship so secure that no matter what happens on the India front, it won't impact Gulf Pakistan relations?
I don't think either proposition is accurate. I don't think Pakistan can ever take the relationship with the Gulf for granted, and nor are they entirely secure in the solidity of the relationship. All relationships, including between countries, have to be constantly nurtured and refreshed. New and fresh inputs have to be provided. Now, they have watched with great concern the expansion of GCC ties with India. I can tell you on personal basis that as we made the effort from the beginning of this century, right from 2000, when I was ambassador in Saudi Arabia, we mounted a major effort to engage with the kingdom and other Gulf countries on political matters. Do recall that all through the Gulf, all through the Cold War, India and the Gulf countries were on opposite sides.
Yeah.
So, though we had a historical relationship and we had an important economic relationship, and we had large numbers of our people being accepted as migrant workers in all across the Gulf, to the extent that in 1990, Indians, which who used to be number four in Saudi Arabia, became number one. Earlier you had Yemen, Egypt, Pakistan, and then India. By 1990, Indians were number one in Saudi Arabia. And that pattern has continued all across the Gulf. Despite all these, we did not have political engagement at all. No Indian foreign minister has visited Saudi Arabia. The last visit of the head of government of Indira Gandhi had been in 1982. The major challenge that India faced in the post Cold War scenario was to build a political basis for our dialogue. And that is what we were able to do after the last decade of the last century was a very confusing period for all of us, because you had the first Gulf War, you had the sanctions inspections regime, you had the stroke of King Fahd and the jostling within the royal family, and you had terrorist attacks in Saudi Arabia. Then also, as far as India is concerned, we had numerous domestic issues that were of concern. We did not have stable government. It's only in the year 1999, when Vajpayee ji formed a stable government in Delhi, that Saudi Arabia hastened to invite the Indian External Affairs Minister. And this happened in January 2001. From that day till today, this 24 years that have passed, they have seen an extraordinary upward trajectory as far as the relationship is concerned. And this has been a constant matter of concern for Pakistan. And they have been watching this relationship, burgeoning relationship. Earlier, they had a monopoly. Please recall that until we had the opening with Mr. Jaswant Singh's visit in January 2001, and then King Abdullah's visit in 2006, and then Dr. Manmohan Singh's visit in 2010, each of these were very novel experiences. And we observers used to note that Dr. Manmohan Singh, coming in 2010, was the first Indian Prime Minister since 1982. So Pakistan has watched this. Now, what India brings to the relationship is something that is valued in the Gulf. And that is, we are major buyers of their energy, and we are likely to be major buyers, possibly the number one buyer over the coming 2 or 3 decades. That is crucial. Number two, we are very major trade partners. Number three, they see India as a very major, a very attractive territory for their investments. We are now looking at technology as bringing us together, and we are also looking at logistical connectivity projects. Each of these, Pakistan doesn't fit in any of these, and that is the crucial point. Pakistan remains a partner in the broad security and defense area. India flourishes. And now we have built up strategic partnership. Our partnership with Saudi Arabia is monitored at the Crown Prince and Prime Minister level at the Strategic Dialogue platform. And you have a separate NSA platform. You have a separate External Affairs Minister platform. All of them discussing how to take our relationship forward. Pakistan has none of this. It has it, and therefore there is no comparison between our two relationships. Having said this, Pakistan tries its best. It is constantly engaged with its partners, but it rarely can talk the language that India can with regard to energy and economic development. Most of the time, it is discussing loans and credits and grants and specific projects being supported. And that is, it's a very different thing. I would say to you that possibly the Gulf have been concerned that Pakistan, under the pressure of the breakdown of its economy, should not become a state that flourishes with jihadis. I'm saying this cautiously. It is not my business to malign another country and that to a neighbor. But this is a concern. People mention this to you very cautiously. It is not articulated in public. But yes, if you remember, when the Chinese put in all those billions of dollars in CPEC in Pakistan, the Gulf countries had already been doing that for the previous two decades. The Chinese came in much later because they had to reward Pakistan for its sustained support to them in terms of their projects and those projects that had involved the United States. Very few of them had gone well, and none of them had served the interests of the region. But when it was needed, Pakistan was there. Pakistan's economy, you remember that the concern that Pakistan is a failing state and
Mm-hmm.
it could become a failed state.
Yep.
It started getting put on various negative lists. I think the Gulf countries were seriously concerned that somehow, under the kind of leadership that it has had for so long, the country should not implode. And this constant support for Pakistan possibly is linked with ensuring that there is some minimum support given to the economy so that it can lurch from day to day, month to month, year to year. There is concern because they are aware, and I don't have to belabor this point because they know it as well as I do, that Pakistan has, for purposes that are today totally out of tune with global opinion, Pakistan started using extremist elements as part of its state policy against India, as an instrument of state policy against India. They are aware of that. Earlier, for far too long, they started believing that Pakistan, that this is a Kashmir issue and that everything is connected with Kashmir. Whenever my colleagues and I made an effort in the kingdom in my first posting from 2000 to 2003 to convey to the Saudi side that look, this is nothing to do with the Kashmir issue. Kashmir issue we can talk about. This is jihad. This is trans-border, cross-border jihad. But we didn't carry any credibility. This changed in 2008, and I mentioned this point to you earlier that once the Gulf countries saw with their own eyes on television the assault upon Mumbai in 2008, this excuse or this bogey of Kashmir was buried once and for all. They could see for themselves that these 10 terrorists had been sent from Karachi. They had been provided training and logistical support by elements within the state order, and that this attack on Mumbai had nothing to do with this issue of Jammu and Kashmir. It had all to do with jihad. And when they looked at the map, what did they see? They saw that they are even more vulnerable than Mumbai is. They are next door. They don't even have the kind of naval support that is required for self protection. That is the point at which India and the rest of the region became partners in counter terrorism. And Pakistan is recognized as the fountainhead of extremism, a fountainhead of extremism that threatens the entire region today.
Ambassador Talmi Saab, thank you very much for sharing such a detailed analysis of the region, the role of the Gulf in Indo-Pak relations and regional security. As always, you have been very frank and candid and full of information, analysis, and insight. Thank you very much for joining me today on Conversations, and I look forward to engaging you in the near future again.
Thank you very much, Professor, and all good wishes to you.
Thank you very much, sir.